Imagine you are a bird soaring high in the sky. You fly east over the sea until you reach a beautiful beach. Down below, you see a stunning vacation spot. It looks just like the famous coastal towns in Greece or Italy. It has soft sand, clear water, beautiful coral reefs, and green trees. The homes look like modern luxury houses from Florida. But because you're just a bird, you only see a shiny new resort from above. You do not know the history of this land. Right next to the modern buildings, there is a small house. It looks very different. It is an old house built in a traditional Arab style. It does not fit in with the modern developments around it. Many years ago, a man decided to build a diving business next to this old house. The workers brought big machines and started digging into the ground. Suddenly, they stopped working. Just a little way under the dirt, they uncovered human bones. The workers got scared. They quickly covered the hole back up with dirt, packed up their tools, and left. They never came back. A local fisherman saw all of this happen. He went to the project manager and asked why they abandoned the work. The manager lied to him. He said they just found some old bones from a war hundreds of years ago. But the fisherman knew the truth. He said those were the bodies of Palestinians who were killed in 1948. His father and grandfather told him about a terrible massacre that happened on this exact beach. They told him that the dead were buried in mass graves. In fact, one of those large graves sits right under the parking lot of that beautiful vacation resort. All of this happened before the resort was built and before the land was given a new name. It happened when this place was a peaceful Palestinian fishing village called Tantura. Back then, about 1,500 people lived there. They made a living by fishing and farming. It was a very quiet, simple, and beautiful home. After the war, a wall of silence covered the village for over 50 years. The official story in Israel said there was just a regular battle between two armies. The story claimed that the local people simply chose to leave, and then new settlers moved in. That false story stood until a university student started asking questions in 1998. He tracked down and interviewed the old soldiers who actually took over the village. When these old soldiers talked, the truth came out. There was no real battle. The villagers tried to defend themselves, but they had almost no weapons and no military training. Their resistance was crushed almost instantly. When the villagers surrendered, it did not save them. Instead, it was the start of a terrible massacre. The soldiers went into the village and separated the men from the women. They took all the money and jewelry from the women. Then, they forced the women to leave the village and walk away into the unknown with nowhere to go. Next, the soldiers forced all the men down to beach, right by that old Arab house. They counted any boy over the age of 13 as a grown man. Right there on the shore, the execution started. Years later, these old soldiers talked about what they did in a documentary film. One soldier remembered putting people inside large barrels and shooting them. He said he still remembers seeing the blood fill the barrels. Another soldier said an officer pulled out his gun and started shooting the prisoners on the beach one by one. A third soldier actually laughed on camera. He said he was a killer and did not take prisoners. He said he had a machine gun with 250 bullets and used them all, but he never bothered to count how many people he killed. Remember, these are not the stories of the victims. These are the confessions of the killers themselves. These are the people who want to make their actions sound less evil. So imagine how much worse the real truth was. Most of the people who survived were forced to live in refugee camps far away, but some moved to a town just a few minutes down the road. They had to rebuild their lives right next to the land where their families were killed. For decades, they did not even know exactly where their loved ones were buried. A research group finally solved the mystery in 2023. They found old photos of the village taken from airplanes before and after the war. They compared those old photos with modern satellite maps and built 3D models of the land. Their final report proved exactly where the bodies are hidden. The two biggest mass graves are right there. One is next to the old village cemetery, and the other is paved over by the parking lot of the public beach and luxury resort. If you search for this place on the internet today, your screen will show you hotel prices, vacation reviews, and fun things to do. All of this fun and luxury is built directly on top of execution fields and mass graves. The beach looks like a modern, advanced place, But if you dig just 1 meter under the surface, you immediately find the evidence of murder and ethnic cleansing. Everything I have told you so far comes directly from Israeli sources. These are not Western reports. They belong to Israel itself. The account from Arab sources contain even worse and more painful details. But I chose these specific sources for a reason. I want to show you what happens to the few Israeli voices who try to look into the truth of the Nakba and speak out. They were severely punished by the country that calls itself the only democracy in the Middle East. Take Teddy Katz, for example. He was a student who interviewed the old soldiers. The actual war criminals sued him for damaging their reputation. The university removed his research paper from the library. He was forced to take back everything he said, and his academic career was completely ruined. Another example is Eyal Weizman, the founder of the research group Forensic Architecture. His punishment was a bit different. The government banned his books in Israel. They especially banned his book called Hollow Land. In this book, he explains exactly how the Israeli occupation builds its settlements to trap Palestinians and force them off their land. These are not rare cases. There are many examples of people in Israel being silenced for speaking about the Nakba. It got so bad that in 2011, the Israeli parliament passed a law called the Nakba Law. This law gives the government the power to stop funding any public group or institution that talks about the Nakba